Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariana. On this channel I talk about makeup and I also talk about motherhood. Today is part 2 of my breastfeeding journey. Make sure that you watch video number 1. I'm gonna put the link down below. On number 1, I share with you guys where you can find help and support with breastfeeding. And on today's video, I'm gonna be talking more about the technical stuff, the things that you're gonna need, and how to deal with oversupply, because that's something I went through. I'm also gonna show you the ways I was taught to feed a fussy baby. If you like my videos, just make sure that you subscribe so that you're gonna know every time that I post a new one. When my baby was born, he was placed into my body and he kind of climbed his way up to my breast. He placed his mouth on my nipple, so I thought that was a latching baby. Now I know that he wasn't latching, he was there just for the comfort of it. He fell asleep, and for me at that time that was enough because it was a really long day. We were both under a lot of stress, so for me it was good. It felt good that he felt comfortable enough to fall asleep on me, because for me it meant that he trusted me and he knew that he was safe. At first I was very scared to introduce the bottle like right away, because there's something called nipple confusion. It's when babies get too used to the bottle because it's way easier for them. It's less work, it's less sucking, and a lot more comes off. When on the breast they have to work a little bit more. So I was scared to introduce the bottle right away because I wanted him to latch. That's something I wanted since we got pregnant. I don't know, it's something that I always wanted to. It was to breastfeed my baby. So to get baby fed in the hospital, the nurses taught us how to feed the baby through a syringe. As I said on video number 1, my baby was fed with formula for the first 4 days of his life. To feed with a syringe, you basically need a syringe like one of these ones and a little tube. I don't have the tube anymore, but it's something that you can get at the pharmacy or they will provide you in the hospital. So you attach the tube into the syringe. You're gonna put the formula here, and it's a good way to also know how much your baby is taking every feed. So with the formula here or with your pumped milk and then the syringe, some women, they attach the tube into their breasts, so very close to the nipple. It's like almost like a feeding training. So when the baby finds the tube, he will automatically find the nipple as well, so he will suck on both, and then eventually you would just take the tube off once babies are like already used to your breast. Unfortunately for us, it didn't work on my nipple because baby would just, I don't know, I honestly don't know what happened there, but he just didn't want to take my nipple. He just didn't want to feed on my breast. So we started doing the syringe onto my finger. So you basically you attach the tube here with a lot of tape, and you use your finger as a nipple into baby's mouth. And that's how he was fed for 4 days. On the 4th day, my milk really came in, and it was a lot. It's funny because you can actually feel when your body is producing milk, and at first, on the first moments, it can be a little bit painful. For me, it was a lot of pain because I was producing a lot of milk. For some women, they don't feel it as much. I felt a lot. I was like, what is this? It's almost like a burning feeling on your breast, but it goes away very quick. It lasts like, I don't know, like for 30 seconds maximum. So once I started producing milk, I started pumping. Baby also started with the bottle. At first, we got a manual pump. That thing didn't really work for me. I wouldn't recommend for a mom that's struggling with oversupply. It just can't handle it. But at the time, I still didn't know what oversupply was. I just thought that was completely normal, that I was producing just what my baby needed. So we finally got an electrical pump. We got the Medela Swing, which is this guy over here. It costs $170 Canadian. It's to pump one breast at a time. For me, it worked, but of course you can get those ones that pump both breasts at the same time because it gets the job done faster. But I can tell you that this thing saved my life, and it's probably the best gift my husband ever got me because it just made my life so much easier. So to establish your milk supply, it's recommended that you pump every 3 hours or so if baby's not feeding from your breast, because that's the natural way that they feed in the beginning. They wake up pretty much every 3 hours to feed, and then they fall asleep again. So you should be pumping that much every 3 hours. For some reason, I knew that I didn't have to pump as much, because every time I pumped, I would get a full bottle or even more. I would pump like 5 times a day, maximum 6 if I was really, really uncomfortable with my breasts very full. The lactation consultants that I met along the way of my breastfeeding journey, they didn't really like the idea of me pumping only this much, because they were concerned about my supply that would drop, or baby would just get even more fussy on my breast and he wouldn't never latch. The thing is, my midwives, they trusted me on this. They were like, listen to your body and you will know, like if you're uncomfortable, of course pump more. But I just knew that I didn't have to. That was the time that I really listened to my intuition. I just knew that I didn't have to, and you will know. Listen to your intuition, trust your body. So as I said, every time that I would pump, I would get a full bottle, and it's one the bottle that I'm talking about is this ones, where you can store some milk as well. So pumping 5 times a day, and from each breast I would get more than 5 ounces. That brings me to, so 5 times 5, 25, 25 times 2, 50, more than 50 ounces a day. That's almost a liter and a half, I think. Yeah, that's more than a liter and a half per day, pumping only 5 times. And there were days that I was pumping 6 times, so it's even more. That's considered oversupply. That's when I learned that I had oversupply. If you're a full-time pumping mom, on an average you would get from 25 to 35 ounces a day by 1 month, because in the beginning your body doesn't produce as much. On my second week, I was already producing over 50 ounces. So that's crazy. That's a lot of milk, a lot of milk. So if you're struggling with oversupply, make sure you get a pump. It doesn't matter what kind you get, they're very important. Even if you get your baby to feed before we did, because for us it took 3 months, even if you get him before that, get a pump, because you're gonna need it. Even though I was pumping full time, I would take every opportunity to try to breastfeed my baby, every opportunity. And in the beginning, I would go to a breastfeeding clinic to get their help. I would go like once or twice a week. I already know all the lactation consultants there. Some I really liked it, some I didn't so much, because they weren't a great help for me. But one of them, she introduced me to a nipple shield, which is this guy over here. It's made of silicone and it's a short-term solution. So I'm gonna show you the way that I was taught to, and it was the way that was working for me. I watched other YouTube videos and they show some other ways. Just try all the ways and then you see what works for you. So I expressed a little bit of milk around here, and then you push it back like that. And let's say that this is my nipple. So you do it like that with some suction, and then you pull everything back like this. So it attaches pretty well. What it does, it helps baby to have a better latch, especially if you don't have much of a nipple formed, and it protects your nipple from the soreness, because in the beginning can be very painful. But as I said, it's only a short-term solution. It's not meant to be used every single day. It's a breastfeeding training for the baby and protection for you. So how will you know if you have oversupply? So your breast will feel full or hard most of the time, and the worst is when it feels hard. My goodness, it hurts. You notice that your baby is struggling to latch, and he's actually struggling, like he's trying but he cannot. Your breast sprays milk whenever your baby gets off your breast, or whenever the pump gets off your breast, milk goes everywhere. If baby is latching, baby will often gulp or choke, and that's a terrible thing to see. Baby's arching away from the breast, so that's what happened to me pretty much every time that I would try to get him breastfeeding. He would just try to stay away as much as he could from my breast, and that is heartbreaking. Feedings can seem like battles, and trust me, it's a fight. It's like a cat fight. It's hard. You will often have sore nipples and engorgement. You have to be very careful with mastitis. If you feel very full or hard, pump right away until your breast feels soft and comfortable again. You don't have to empty your breast every time, because as much as you empty your breast, your bodies actually produce even more milk. So every time that your breast is empty, it will produce more. So you don't have to pump until it's empty. Unless you're on the other hand, unless you have low supply, then yes, you want to empty that out, because then your body is going to produce more for your baby. Oversupply can be a huge problem if you're not on top of it. And how can you feel better with oversupply or have a better chance of baby latching? Here's what worked for me. I pumped until my breast was comfortable, but as I said, not completely empty. Just as soon as my breast was soft, I would stop pumping. I tried to decrease the amount of times that I was pumping every day. Let's say if I started pumping 5-6 times in the beginning, by month 2 I was pumping like 4 or 5 times maximum, and then by month 3 4 times maximum. That way, slowly decrease the amount of times that you pump per day, but not too quick. Take your time, take a couple of days, take a couple of weeks to start decreasing. I tried a couple of times to pump before my baby was going to feed. So if he was asleep and I knew that was going to be time for him to wake up soon, I would pump a little bit, just a let down, and then I would try to latch my baby. That way it wouldn't be so much milk for him to handle, and he will probably latch easier. It didn't work in the beginning because I was still learning, right? But sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But as I said, it's a learning process for you and your baby. And try to feed your baby from one breast at each feeding. Some moms, they would offer both breasts in one feeding. For an oversupply mom, try to do just from one, because baby will have more than enough from one side, and then from the other side you will probably have to pump, because if you wait too many hours, you're gonna get too full and it's probably gonna be uncomfortable for you. So pumping more than 50 ounces a day, as you can imagine, our freezer started getting very full very quick. So I was storing my milk in bags like this. There are a lot of brands that offer the same thing. This is the one that I'm using right now. So you basically pump into the bottle and then you will transfer the milk here, and you're gonna write down the amount and the day and the time. You can store your milk for 3 days in the fridge, 3 to 6 months in the freezer. It really depends the kind of freezer you have. And if it's left outside of the fridge when you're feeding baby, and let's say he didn't finish the bottle, you can offer him again the same in between 4 to 6 hours. After that, the milk is not good. So when I reached the first month, I gave up for the first time. So people told me that would take about 2 weeks for it to work, and it didn't. I kept on trying, but when we reached the first month, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. But after 2 weeks, I tried again because I don't know, there was just something telling me that someday this would work. And that's when I had the visit of a public health nurse. Here in Ontario, when you check out from the hospital, you opt in for a nurse to come visit you, or you don't have to. It's totally your choice. So I was like, yes, please, the sooner the better. And they told me, well, it might take a couple of weeks because they have a lot of moms to visit. And I was like, no, like, it's okay. Every help is welcomed. And whenever she comes, I'm sure that that's going to be the right time. I am so thankful for her visit. I am so thankful for, I don't know, just opting in for this option, because she was like an angel sent from God. Just the way she talked and all her years of experience, she really knew what she was doing. And what I love the most about her is that she loved her job. She was there to help me and to help me only. I told her what was going on since from the beginning, and she was like, well, Mariana, a lot of women struggle with the same thing. Try not to give up. I know breastfeeding can be really hard on moms, but try not to give up. This is gonna happen for you and your baby. And she was just like, trust me. And for some reason I was just like, yeah, I'll trust you. I will trust you. So while she was in the house, she organized all the pillows around me so I could sit in a very comfortable way. And I never thought of it. Every time that I would try to feed my baby, I would just think more of him. Like, is he comfortable? I wouldn't really care much about me. Whatever way he would latch, that was okay for me. But then she taught me that mom has to be very comfortable too and very stress-free. That way baby would feel your energy and he will probably latch easier. While she was there, I don't know if she was if she hypnotized my baby, she had some magic. I don't know. I think it's just, as I said, her years of experience and her passion for what she was doing. Because once she placed baby on my breast, he latched. And that was one of the happiest day of my life. It still makes me emotional because I would never forget his face. He was just there, very comfortable, and he was feeding. I could hear him go, 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 and not struggling for the first time. And his face, just, he was just okay in there. He was just very peaceful, and that's what I expected since from the beginning. What I would never forget, like, you know, there are moments in your life that you just capture as a picture and you keep in your brain somewhere, and then you will never forget. It's almost like an album of pictures. That would be one of those, because he latched for about like 5 minutes, and that was the longest he ever did in the beginning. So once he unlatched and he was asleep, he did that face, that pouting face, like this, that he was satisfied with my milk from my breast. So that was, it was magical. It was a magical moment. Once he was there feeding, I was sobbing already. I was just so excited, and I was just so full of joy and happiness that was actually happening, that was like, that breastfeeding was actually possible. But of course, once she left, he didn't latch again. And it's like I'm laughing, but it wasn't funny. Leaving that moment wasn't funny, because it was almost like I needed her there every single day to show us the way. But I kept on trying every day because she kept my hopes up. And then on month 2, I gave up again, but then I went back to it after 2 weeks. And then by month 3, I was pumping less, about 3 times a day, maximum 4. And my body finally started to decrease the production of milk. But then when baby turned 3 months old, I gave up, and I gave up for good. I was done with it. I was on my limits. I had all my reasons. It just wasn't a happy moment for me, especially having him latched for that day when the nurse came in. It was really hard on me giving up, but I knew at that time that that was the best thing for my mental health, because breastfeeding was like driving me nuts. But then on the 4th day, when baby was 3 months and 4 days, we were sleeping, it was nighttime, and it was my husband's turn to feed him with the bottle, because we would take turns a night, and he just wouldn't get the bottle. And then my husband was like, well, you try. And then I got the baby and I tried to feed him with the bottle, and then he would just fight with it, almost that if the bottle was like my breast, and I was like, what's going on? Like, the milk is bad. Like, and then I smelled, the milk smelled fine, and everything was fine. The bottle was okay, nothing was broken and anything like that. So then my husband was like, well, just try giving your breast one more time. And I was like, no, I am done with it. I made my peace with the pumping. And then he was like, well, Mariana, just try it one more time. And then I tried. I offered him my breast, and he took it. And I was shocked. I was literally shocked that that was happening, and that I was doing that on my own with no one helping me. I placed baby close to my breast, and he took my nipple, and he started feeding. And I was like, why you didn't take it before? And I was just there, like, trying not to move, because I was scared of him unlatching and never latching again. So I was just there, like, petrified, like, with tears of joy, but like just trying not to move. And then once I noticed that he was actually there for good, I started calming down, taking in the situation, understanding it more, and then I just started enjoying it. And when I tell you that I was enjoying it, I was enjoying it. I was loving it. There are no words that can describe that feeling, especially because I didn't have anyone's help. That was me and him sharing that moment, just the two of us. So after that, as you can imagine, I was very scared of offering the bottle again because of the nipple confusion. I kept on pumping, but baby would only feed from my breast. I would pump like twice a day, one in the morning and then once a night. So let's talk positions now. I'm gonna be showing you pictures of positions that worked for us and some others that can really help in the beginning, for especially for a newborn and for oversupply moms. So the first one, and that's the one that really worked for us, it was the football hold. That's when you hold your baby with your forearm and your hand, but the baby's body is like on the side of your body going back, and then the head of the baby is in the front in your breast. It's really good for a mother that has big breasts like I do, or if you had a C-section, because then baby's not on top of your stitches, and it's a position that gives you a lot of control of the baby. There is the laid back position or reclined. That's the most natural way of baby feeding in the very beginning, when the baby does that breast crawl, when he climbs up to your breast. It's really good for mom that have large breasts as well, or he has an intense letdown of milk. And then there is the cradle hold, which is the very classic position. A pillow, a nursing pillow, it's very necessary for this one, so your arms won't get so tired. This is the nursing pillow we had. I totally recommend you getting one. And then there's the cross cradle, which is almost the same as the cradle position, but baby's held with the opposite arm. So baby's along your opposite forearm, and then you hold the baby's head with your hand. And you can use your free hand to shape your breast into baby's mouth, so that way it's easier for the baby to latch. And it's really nice to have a free hand when you're feeding, because that way you can have your water, you can have your tea, you can have the remote control, you can have your phone. But don't forget that that's a very bonding experience, so try not to distract yourself with a lot of things. Try to keep yourself in the moment looking at your baby, because it's worth it. And then there's the sideline. We are doing this a lot now. The baby's over 1 year old, but you can do this with a younger baby as well. It's really good for C-sections because baby's not on top of your stitches. It's a good alternative for a bedtime feeding because it gets baby already in the position to go to sleep. And again, it's good if you have large breasts. And there are many more positions, especially as baby grows. You will see there are other positions more recommended for bigger babies or older babies. Now my baby feeds in every single way, and I feel very confident with breastfeeding. I consider myself professional now. So, and I have no shame of feeding him in public or anything like that. So whenever he needs to feed, if he's in his career, I would just get one of my breasts out and he will feed. Do your own research about the positions, because as I said, there are a lot of them and new positions come out every single day, because babies can be monkeys and they do their own thing sometimes. Make sure you have a good nipple cream, because in the beginning baby can latch wrong until he gets the way of it, and until you really learn how to breastfeed. It can be painful sometimes, as I said before, and the nipple cream helps a lot, especially if it's sore or hurt. So around month 5, breastfeeding was really going well for us, and I was still pumping like twice a day, but I was kind of fed up with it. I didn't want to pump anymore, and I had a stash for over 6 months built in my freezer. I was done with it, and I reached out to the La Leche Big International group, and I asked the mothers in the group if they had any recommendation for me. What should I do to stop pumping for good? So a mother there, she was struggling with the same thing, with oversupply, and we shared almost the same experiences from the beginning. She recommended me getting a Haka pump, which is this guy here. It's about $20 on Amazon, Canadian, and I cannot thank her enough for this recommendation. This guy, it was what I needed at that time to stop pumping. This little thing, it's made of silicone, and it pretty much does the job for you. So whenever baby was feeding from one side and the other side would feel a little bit full, I would just attach this to it and it would pump on its own. Like I didn't have to do anything. I just had to be careful, of course, of with baby not kicking it off my boob, and then milk would just go everywhere. It can be messy if you don't do it right. This is what we needed. I was just so happy when I purchased this. It's great. It does the job for you, as I said. All you have to do is to latch this onto your breast, the one that you're not feeding your baby at that moment. I used to do the same thing that I did with the nipple shield. I would put some milk around here, and then you push this back, and then you squeeze, and then let's say again that this is my nipple, you would attach and then it latches, like it won't move that easy. But of course, if you have a fussy baby, he can kick this off. But it did a great job for me. I love this. I was so thankful for it. It's much more gentle on the sucking aspect of a pump because the electrical ones can be a lot more stronger. So this one, it's much more gentle, so your body will start to understand that, oh, baby's not sucking that strong anymore. It's because we don't need to produce that much anymore. So your body starts to understand to produce less milk. And this is pretty much how we conquered oversupply. This was the last thing that I needed, and it came at the right time. After that, after using this for probably like a month, my body was only producing what really my baby needed. I still pump nowadays. Sometimes if my baby sees me pumping, he will want to feed. And I can do both at the same time. As I said on the first video, after conquering breastfeeding, I just feel like I'm capable of doing anything and everything. It's a very empowering experience. Breastfeeding it's insane. It can drive you crazy, but it also can make you feel so good about yourself. And then the last things you will need to deal with oversupply, it's definitely the nursing pad. Trust me, you're gonna need it. You're gonna be leaking a lot, especially in the beginnings. And you're also gonna need a very good nursing bra or a nursing tank. That's it for today. I think I covered everything that helped me throughout my breastfeeding journey. Dealing with oversupply was definitely a struggle, but we made it. Let me know if you have any concerns or if you have any questions. Keep on trying, but of course, know your limits. But if you are to give up, do it. It's okay. You're the only one that know your own limits, and you must know that you did your best at all times, that you tried your best for you and your baby. Even when you don't realize, just try to remind yourself that you're always trying to do your best. Good luck on your breastfeeding journey, and don't forget that your baby loves you unconditionally, regardless the way you get to feed him. Bye bye.